Today I would love to talk to you about Ralph Stacey's model about how to really understand what are the critical issues that a group and team need to work on as a whole team. It could be a team or it can be an entire organization. Different than a lot of the issues that groups end up wanting to be involved in, or different again than a lot of the issues that leaders present to groups, and the groups have very little interest in working on those. So as you can see in the graphic, in Ralph Stacey's model, there are two axes to pay attention to. The vertical axis is the level of agreement that a group has around a particular issue or strategy as it moves forward. As you can see, 100% agreement is all the way down at the bottom, or the intersection of your two lines. So that would mean that a whole group agrees of what should be done. The horizontal axis is the level of certainty. If a particular approach was taken or a particular strategy was implemented, the certainty that it will create the kinds of results it's designed to deliver. And 100% certainty is also, of course, at that same point. So at that very point of the intersection of the vertical and horizontal lines is 100% certainty and 100% agreement. You'll see on the chart there's the bottom left-hand corner, which is the shorthand way of saying that's kind of ordinary management. Those are areas that, you know, they're kind of like no-brainers. Leaders should just go forward on those issues. There's enough agreement in the system and there's enough certainty that the strategy is going to work. Why are leaders coming to groups over and over in meetings and talking about those kind of issues? It drives people in the system crazy when that happens. Even though there might be a few that don't agree, that's fine. The leader can talk to those few folks, but they really should move forward. On the far other side of the upper part of the diagram, that's an area that's really called chaos in the model. And that's where there's very little agreement and very little certainty. And interestingly enough, teams often take those issues on year after year and they just spin. They talk about them, they don't reach any conclusions, they table it and they come back in and they have the whole conversation again. And in that area, in Ralph Stacey's model, it would say leaders should also kind of bite the bullet and make the decision. They can get input and they can get a few people involved. But the system isn't ready to tackle those issues, is what that model is telling us. In the middle ground is the extraordinary leadership. And that is an area where there's enough certainty and enough agreement. That is where teams of people should work together, because it builds ownership, it builds alignment, and that's where the real juice is. So what you're going to see now is a little training clip. And it kind of goes into a little bit more depth in some of the more kind of variables to consider about this model. And after you see this training clip, we're going to come back and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can use this model with a whole team or a whole organization to actually identify those critical issues, and it becomes the agenda of a team over a long period of time. So please enjoy this little video clip from an actual training, and then I'll be back to talk to you shortly. Out here, you kind of handle that the same way. There's another repetition of just go do it as the leader, because there's just so much confusion, there's no agreement, no certainty. That's the leadership role, is to build stability. When an issue has to be resolved, it can't just be put off. But at least it helps clarify here. What you're going to get here is compliance. You could put that here. You can put compliance here. The best you're going to get is compliance. But in issues there's a lot of agreement and a lot of certainty. That's all you need. Does that make sense? Over here, if you handle it, you get ownership. which is what you want, because ownership's not only for that issue, it's for a lot of things. Does that make sense? So far to everybody. I'm not talking just Megan. Look what else you get. This is external accountability, externally imposed accountability. That's what these things can be. You know, okay, we said you said, I told you that you're going to do these things and you're not doing them. That's external accountability, which I find pretty fascinating, but on things it's pretty important that it happens. But all you'll get is compliance to that. But if we operate in these ways around the juicy issues, you get internal accountability. Also known as personal responsibility. Now, given the choice, which would you rather have? This takes a lot of time, effort, you know, for people, managers to do with people. Wouldn't we rather just have people just do it because it's internal? I mean, obviously it's a stupid question, it's a rhetorical question. But when you ask, well, how do you get it? I'm suggesting that it's every time we come and work with issues, the issues that fall in here, and it's how we work with that. If people own the work, you get these. Working in this way leads to that, and that creates those things. Okay, welcome back. I hope that was kind of instructive about some of the other dimensions that you can understand, both about below the green line and above the green line and where they sit on the model, and about external and internal accountability and the value of really building internal accountability around selection of the right issues. Now the critical question is, how do you take this model from theory and take it right into practice? And that's what I'd like to just spend a minute or two talking with you about. I have been very successful going out, doing the intro to the Ralph Stacey model, just as this video has now provided you with, to a team. And the team really gets it. It's such an intuitive model. It's a simple model. People understand what it means about ordinary management, extraordinary management, and chaos. They've experienced all of these areas. So teams of people then go out, and let's say you have 40 people in your organization or in this part of your organization. You break them up into groups of 8 people each, and you ask them to identify over the next, let's say 6 months or 1 year, what are the issues that we as a team need to tackle that they fall into that extraordinary leadership domain, that domain that everybody should be involved in. The teams come back with 4 or 5 critical issues each. They share them across all of these 5 groups of people if you had 40 total people. You then might identify 15 or 20 issues total across all of those. And then you ask the group to further refine and prioritize those issues, the ones that are most critical and need to come first. And those are the issues that become the agenda. The group develops the agenda, the topics, and the actual sequence of which those topics need to be tackled. Groups and teams are thrilled to have this. They have a long-term plan. They know the conversations they need to have. They know the order of those conversations. And it's a fantastic process to use. I've had great success with it. I hope you give it a try. I hope you found this video to be useful. For more on these kinds of training tips or more resources, please go to my website, steveswyback.com, and you can look on free resources pages, the blog page, or more about my trainings on the training page. Thanks for joining me today.